the issue turned out to be much bigger than we thought, and it turned out what looked like an easy bill that was supported by the environmental community, and by the industry, the personal care industry, turned out to be actually very controversial. And that's kind of the process that we learned from the time that I dropped the bill to just hours before the first hearing on it is when we realized that there was going to be a big issue. We got a phone call from an environmental group, or got notice from an environmental group that this bill was not okay. And I had never heard of the group. In fact, you don't see it around very much. It's called Five Gyres. And basically they posited that so this bill would ban plastic microbeads, except for biodegradable plastic microbeads. And basically they came back and they said the word biodegradable is not okay. And even at first we still didn't understand that was what the issue was, the word biodegradable. So I thought, well, nobody's ever heard of this group, or we don't know this group, and it turns out it's a national group. So we have the hearing. What they said is, people get very concerned when they think about the ocean and they see those floating piles of junk. And I'm sure you've seen things about that. They're like little islands of trash. And she said, both of them were women, both the scientists. And they go, that's bad. We will never say that's not bad. But the worst of the worst are these tiny microbeads that are plastic. There is no such thing as biodegradable plastic. It just breaks down into smaller and smaller and smaller, microscopic even, bits of plastic. This bill is held up over one word, and the word is biodegradable. And it sounds small, but I think it's about a very big issue. So the things that we're going to be looking at, I think, over the interim, both the personal care industry, legislators, environmentalists, can we come to a place where, at least as far as for the personal care industry, we can find a pathway forward that protects the environment, that lifts up the notion that here is an industry that desperately and does want these things not only out of Washington state waters, but wants them out throughout the United States. So it's a worthy conversation I think we're going to have. But I'll tell you, as a freshman, the bill was supposed to be, everybody's supporting it, and then suddenly, within hours of the hearing, it's just like, and a lot of people were, they were worried that I would feel, bad about that. But actually, it's not so important to me that a bill gets passed. It's that it's worthwhile and right. What I think the most important thing you can do is become educated. The second thing, I guess, and the overriding issue is, how do we protect our oceans? How do we protect the Puget Sound, which sometimes is called the lungs of the whole Pacific Northwest? I appreciate that there are foundations like Paul Allen's that are working really hard to try and keep the health of our oceans, to protect the health of our oceans. And I think more and more we're going to need as many people as we can to understand this incredibly complex system and to work for its survival, because our own survival and that of our children is dependent on